Yeah, hello there. I'm going to shoot a real quick little video. It's February 6th, I think. It's cold outside. Working on the fence. You can kind of see the fence over there along the road. Putting in these pipe rails made out of some 2 7/8 oil filled pipe. I'm going to shoot this for your benefit and maybe mine. I don't know. You got these discs right here. Come from Harbor Freight. They're about $8.50 for a 10-pack. These ones are $9.99 for the same 10-pack. And this one here was $10.99 for the same 10-pack. All three of them come from Harbor Freight. I don't know if there's any real difference in them, but I'm going to be cutting some saddle notches in these pipes rather than dragging out the torch today. And I figured we'd test the 3 different kinds and see if any of them were distinctly better than the others. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting this saddle around the pipe, and normally whenever I use the death wheel to do this with, I'll burn through 1, maybe 1 1/4 of these wheels right here, making that cut complete. So I'm going to test this one first, then this one on corresponding pipes, and if there's any real difference or benefit to one versus the other, I'll be sure and let you know. Okay, I've got the Warrior cutting wheel mounted on here first. It's the most economical of the 3. They're about 85 cents a piece, but you got to buy a 10-pack. It's 40 grit, 1/16 of an inch thick, and 13,300 max RPM. I'm going to time this event and see how long it takes me to get through it. Alright, so it took just right under 5 minutes, about 4 minutes and 50 seconds, to cut completely through this piece of oil filled pipe with the Warrior cutoff wheel, the 40 grit that I showed you just a second ago. And for clarification, because I kind of confused what I was saying earlier, it takes about 1.25 discs to get through both ends of one of these pipes. Not per end. If it was per end, it would be a little bit more expensive than what I want to spend. But here you can see, I don't have it measured out for you, but you can see the kind of wear that we're seeing on the disc after making that one cut that took about 5 minutes. I probably could have pressed it and hurried along a little bit, but I'm trying to do it with a reasonable amount of pressure that most folks would use. So you can see here from the back side of the tool, there's still enough disc left to make another cut on the other end. Moving on now is the Bauer disc, which is also a 4.5 inch disc, 1/16 of an inch thick, and again has the 13,300 max RPM. I don't think this little 5 amp grinder is anywhere near that same grit, and should cut through metal better because it costs more, right? Another thing to consider is the Bauer brand and the Hercules brand are not eligible for that 20% coupon from Harbor Freight. The Warrior brand is. So if you employ the coupon, I think it brings them down to like 68 cents a piece. These ones right here are just at $1 a piece. So we'll move on. We'll get this second pipe cut here, which is identical to the first one. Interesting. Every now and then you'll get a hold of a piece of this pipe that's real magnetic. Most of it's not, but this one happens to be. So when you're handling it, use caution, because the little metal shards that grab to the end of it there are kind of sharp. So be sure you're wearing your gloves. I can tell you for certain is the Bauer heavy-duty wheel cut through that pipe in about 3.5 minutes as opposed to just under 5 with the Warrior wheel on that pipe. And I wish I had my helper here today to help me demonstrate the size difference of what's left here. But if I put the Warrior cutoff wheel over the Bauer one on the tool, you can see the considerable amount of wear on the Warrior wheel versus the Bauer wheel. Alright, so now I just completed my second cut with that Bauer cutoff wheel, the red one, and I've laid the Warrior blade over the top of it so you can see that we're just about now worn down to the same level as we were on the Warrior cutoff wheel after just one cut. And I didn't do it to show you, maybe I should have, but previously I've used these to make these cuts in the pipe, and it takes a little better than one of these to make both cuts. You normally wind up running out of disc by the end of the second cut. This one here still appears to have about 50 or 60% of its usable life left, and it's still cut faster than the Warrior blade also. So I don't know, with the way the sun is, you can maybe see there's about 1/8 of an inch more in circumference left on the Bauer blade than there was on the Warrior blade. Well, moving on now, I've finished 3 cuts, and you can see here the difference between the Warrior blade after 1 cut versus the Bauer wheel after the 3 cuts. I keep wanting to call it a blade. It's not a blade, it's just a disc. But I'm getting ready to cut the 4th and final, probably, because he's starting to wear down a bit. The 4th and final cut with this Bauer disc will be on this one here, and I just wanted to show y'all kind of a neat little tech tip for removing the template collar off of these pipes. If you use your little wrench that came with the grinder to change the disc out, this thing will just pop right off, and that's so much more convenient than trying to do it with a screwdriver or something. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I was going to try to do that while I was using the tool, but with the generator and everything running, it was just a little too loud. I've made 4 complete cuts with this Bauer cutoff wheel, and I was going to change it out after this one, but there's still too much usable disc left on there, so I'm going to give it a shot and see if we can get 5 out of it. I'll let you know. Man, I tell you what, I expected there to be a little bit of difference, but this is ridiculous. I cut 6 pieces of pipe notching the saddles like that one with that Warrior disc right there. I'm sorry, it's the Bauer disc. I told you before that it took a little more than 1 of the Warrior discs to get through 2 of those. Well, that proves to be the case here. This is from the first disc that I made the first cut with. About halfway through the second cut, it was just worn down to where it was no longer usable. Now, keep in mind, this cut is a little bit near the threaded portion of that pipe, and sometimes those are a little bit harder to cut, but in this case this one was cutting real easy. It's just the disc wears down faster than the other one. So I made it about 3/4 of the way around that pipe with the Warrior disc, and that was the second cut with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this Bauer disc back on there and see if I can finish that cut. Well, I tell you what, I'm completely impressed with the performance of these Bauer cutoff wheels as opposed to the Warrior cutoff wheels. Both come from Harbor Freight, as I mentioned before. I'm going to have to make this a 2-part video, because as you can see here, after just 1 3/4 cuts, I destroyed that disc, which is significantly smaller in diameter than the Bauer disc that's left behind it. Folks, I ran out of work for the day. I cut, let's see, I'm kicking them all around here. I cut all of these pipes, saddled both ends of all 4 of those pipes. I need to go get them installed on the fence and wrap it up, because I'm running out of daylight. So we'll have to come back to try the Hercules, and maybe I'll be a little better set up to do a direct competition between it and the Bauer. But hey, let me tell you what, even though these are about 2/3 the price of these, don't waste your money on them. You're going to spend all day long changing blades, and you're going to burn through a whole lot more of them than you do if you stick with a little better product. I can't speak for the Hercules yet, haven't tried it, but the Bauer's really good. Keep in mind, this is my place, I'm doing this on my own, and it's all for personal benefit, and nobody's sponsoring any of this stuff or paying me to do it. I'm just trying to make it a little easier for the next guy to know what to spend his money on, because if it comes down to a better product for a little bit more, I'm willing to pay it.